Hey, I'm Tony Lee. Welcome to Hot Flasher, your daily menopause podcast. Every weekday, my co-host Nikki breaks down the latest research, shares real stories, and talks about the stuff nobody warned us about. If you've got a story of your own, whether you're in perimenopause, right in the thick of it, or on the other side, head to hotflasher.com/share, and you might be featured in an upcoming episode. Here's Nikki.
Thanks, Tony. We've got some eye-opening stuff today. I'm looking at a poll from The Guardian that stopped me in my tracks. 3 out of 4 women don't know that menopause can trigger new mental health conditions. Not worsen existing ones, trigger brand new ones. Think about that for a second. We're talking about roughly half the population going through this transition, and 75% of them have no idea their brain chemistry is about to potentially throw them some serious curveballs. This isn't about feeling a little blue because you're tired from night sweats, though that's real too. Research suggests that fluctuating estrogen levels can actually precipitate conditions like anxiety disorders, depression, or panic attacks in women who've never experienced them before. The hormonal chaos doesn't just mess with your thermostat, it rewires your emotional landscape. I keep thinking about all the women who might be sitting in therapy sessions or doctors' offices, convinced they're losing their minds, when really their ovaries are just winding down production, and nobody connected those dots for them. What really gets me is that we talk endlessly about hot flashes and irregular periods, but somehow the mental health piece gets treated like a footnote. Maybe it's because mental health symptoms are less visible, or maybe we are still uncomfortable acknowledging that our hormones have that much power over our brains. The poll didn't just stop at awareness. It dug into what women actually experience. Nearly half reported anxiety they'd never had before. A third developed depression for the first time. Some women described panic attacks that came out of nowhere, or intrusive thoughts that felt completely foreign to who they were. Dr. Louise Newson, who runs the Newson Health Research and Education in Menopause, pointed out something crucial in the article. She said many women are being prescribed antidepressants when what they really need is hormone support. Not that antidepressants are wrong, they absolutely help many women. But imagine getting treatment for the symptom when the root cause is sitting right there, untreated. This connects to something else that caught my attention this week. The New York Times is reporting that estrogen patches are in shortage. Again. Now, shortages aren't exactly breaking news in the hormone world, but this one feels different because it's happening right when more women are finally getting informed about their options. The patch surged in popularity partly because it bypasses the liver, which means lower risk of blood clots compared to oral estrogen. It's become the go-to for many doctors, especially for women over 60, or those with clotting concerns. But here's what's frustrating. The manufacturing issues aren't new, and they're not unpredictable. Teva, one of the major manufacturers, has been dealing with production problems for months. When you've got a treatment that can literally change someone's quality of life, these supply chain hiccups aren't just inconvenient, they're devastating. I've been getting messages from listeners who've had to switch formulations, delay starting treatment, or ration their patches. One woman told me she's cutting her patches in half to make them last longer, which is not something you should do without talking to your doctor, by the way. The shortage also highlights how fragile our hormone treatment infrastructure really is. We've got this growing awareness about menopause care, more women advocating for themselves, doctors finally getting better education about hormone therapy, and then the actual medications become impossible to find. If you're dealing with this shortage, some doctors are switching patients to estrogen gel or different patch brands, but those alternatives aren't always covered the same way by insurance. It's like being told the treatment exists, it works, your doctor supports it, but sorry, the pharmacy's shelves are empty. This brings me to the third story that really reinforced why we need to stay sharp about our own advocacy. A woman in the Daily Mail shared her story about spending an entire decade being told her drenching sweats were menopause-related. Turns out she had lymphoma. A decade. 10 years of being dismissed, of having her symptoms explained away, of probably feeling gaslit every time she insisted something felt wrong. Now, I want to be careful here. Most hot sweats in midlife women are related to hormonal changes. That's statistically true. But this story is a perfect example of why the "it's just menopause" explanation can become dangerous when it shuts down further investigation. The woman, Sarah, described sweats that were different from typical hot flashes. They happened at night, soaked through everything, and had this particular pattern that didn't match the usual hormonal fluctuations. But because she was the right age and gender, healthcare providers kept circling back to perimenopause. What finally changed things was her insistence on blood work that went beyond the basic hormone panel. The tests revealed markers that led to her cancer diagnosis. She's doing well now, thankfully, but imagine if she'd accepted that first, second, or even fifth "it's just menopause" explanation. This isn't about becoming paranoid or second-guessing every symptom. It's about understanding that menopause can coexist with other conditions. Your night sweats might be hormonal, and you might have a thyroid issue. Your mood changes might be perimenopausal, and you might benefit from therapy for anxiety that has roots beyond hormones. I think about Sarah's story alongside that poll about mental health awareness. And I see the same pattern. We've gotten better at talking about menopause, which is fantastic, but we're still not great at talking about menopause complexity. The mental health piece is complex. Sometimes it's purely hormonal, sometimes it's situational, sometimes it's both, sometimes it's neither, but the timing makes it look related. The physical symptoms are complex too. Sometimes night sweats are estrogen dropping off a cliff. Sometimes they're medication side effects. Sometimes they're your body's way of telling you something else entirely needs attention. What I keep coming back to is this idea that knowledge really is power, but partial knowledge can be limiting. Knowing that menopause affects your brain is crucial. Knowing that hormone therapy exists and patches work well for many women is important. Knowing that your symptoms deserve investigation, not just explanation, could be life-saving. Maybe the real myth we need to bust is that understanding menopause means having all the answers. Instead, maybe it means getting comfortable with asking better questions and insisting on thorough answers. So I'm curious, have you ever had a symptom dismissed as just menopause when your gut told you something else was going on? And if you're dealing with treatment shortages or mental health changes you weren't expecting, how are you navigating those conversations with your healthcare team?
Thanks for listening to Hot Flasher. We're back tomorrow with more, so don't forget to subscribe. See you tomorrow.